Fans of Village Television know our next guest, Debbie Dotson, from her Let's Talk Tech program, but she has a new one and she wants to talk to us about it. It's Senior Travel Adventures. Debbie, welcome to the program.
Well, hi, Michael. Thank you so much for having me today. And I'm so excited to be here and talk about the new show.
Yeah, so what made you want to start this new show? You're an avid traveler. I'm guessing that probably helps.
Right. Well, it came up rather interestingly. So I've had Let's Talk Tech now for almost 2.5 years in the village. And I was serving on the board, and my board service ended in November. And I thought, what am I going to do with myself? And I wanted to expand my travel. So I actually was going to put a little bit of travel segment pieces into Let's Talk Tech. And I thought, why don't we just try for a full show? And fortunately, I had that time available on Village Television. So here I am. And, I love technology, but I think I might love travel more.
Well, no doubts. In fact, I got to know your name a little bit, obviously from the show. I've heard of the show, but also you would send us some pictures from Antarctica and Ireland and all these. And like, I want Debbie's life. I want to hear you come in and host the show. I'll take your life for a month or so.
Yeah, it's interesting. I travel primarily solo travel. My husband he doesn't have the same wanderlust that I do. And so he's very good about it, though. He takes care of the cat, and
Yeah, goes to the
I go
mail,
on my
gets the mail out of the
adventures.
mailbox, takes care of the cat, and you're off, on adventures all around the world.
Yep.
So, what are folks going to see on the program? What do you hope to kind of bring in terms of the what we're going to see, what you're going to talk about, what you're going to cover?
Well, I really want to bring, something that provides entertainment, of course, but also education, and to empower the senior traveler to go ahead and take the trip. So we're going to talk about travel tips, places to go, things you can do, how to stay safe while you're traveling. We have a lot of different people in the community, from an avid expert traveler to someone who may be just watching the show from their living room. And I want to reach that entire audience. So it's going to be much like the other show, where I'm going to have segments that cover different things. My first show is already actually filmed when this kind of all came about. So you'll see a Zoom interview with someone from the UK that she has a solo female travel group on Facebook with over 500,000 members.
Wow.
So although I'm going to focus more on senior travel, but because I am a solo female traveler, some of my stuff that's already been filmed is related to that. But I want to reach all audiences with empowerment and taking the trip, because we don't know what life holds tomorrow.
Absolutely, absolutely. Great advice. Now, you're a teacher, so you know that you do your homework before you present to your class. How much homework do you put in on these shows in terms of research and the places to stay and the cost effectiveness of the travel before you go out and book this yourself and then show folks what you've done?
Right. I do spend a tremendous amount of traveler. I'm very, obviously, because of my tech background, I'm very good with research skills. And actually, funny you should mention this part, because Chat GPT and AI has become an integral tool in travel, particularly for a senior audience. So I'm going to be
Wow.
covering that in my next episode as well, using that to help you with your research. Now, that's not to say you won't still have to do more, but it's a beneficial tool that we didn't have a few years back. I'm also not saying you shouldn't use a travel agent if that's what you're comfortable with. I'm not a travel agent. I just traveled for business for many, many years and was very good with my logistics. And I
Right.
just carried that over to my recreational travel.
And a travel agent certainly is an amazing asset to have, especially if you're doing something like I remember a friend of mine was doing a specialty tour in Africa, and they were going to go see the gorillas. They were going to go see the extra,
Yes,
and there's some things that a travel agent can really help you with. So
exactly.
what do you think you do differently in terms of how since you don't use a travel agent, what do you do differently to make sure your excursions really kind of and your adventures really kind of hit the mark for you?
Well, a couple of different ways. First of all, you have to decide what's your bucket list. What
Mm.
is your most what is it that you really want to see? And a lot of times I hear people say, "Well, I've got like 10 or 12 things," and I probably personally, I probably have 20. But I heard a really good trick. You write it down on a piece of paper and you put it in a jar and you pick one out and you start researching that and you find the best deals. Again, going back to the internet and the ability that we have now to search is
Right.
just incredible. And then I decide what my budget is and what do and then when I find that location, what are the most important things for me that I want to see when I get there? The Northern Lights is a great example. I wanted to see the Northern Lights. And so for me, I specifically research tours and tour companies. Now, I don't always just go on my own. I've taken formal tours as a solo, which has been incredibly fun. And I've met some great people around the world. But, you know, I wanted Northern Lights. So I started looking at what can I find for Northern Lights and what's in my budget and what kind of time frame. I was extraordinarily fortunate. I went at the end of November and the beginning of December. I got to see the Northern Lights 2 nights in a row. That doesn't
Wow.
always happen. So someone was looking after me to make sure I got what I wanted out of that trip. But I decided I was already halfway across the world a little bit there anyway. So I went on and took another tour where I went through Amsterdam and Belgium and France and ended up back in London. So I wanted to maximize my budget. And so taking this one flight where I could have a stopover in Iceland was very economical in comparison to doing 2 different trips there. So you just have to
Right.
be practical, pragmatic, and make sure it's what you really want to do. Sometimes I hear people oh, a trip is cheap and they take it whether they're really interested or not.
Hmm. Yeah, and I like the
So
idea of like the fact you were in Europe already, and so if I've never been to Germany and I can literally take a little shuttle flight for a couple $100s, it makes sense to combine a couple of things on your bucket list at once for folks who have that kind of stamina, of course. And we're gonna have to
right,
talk offline
right. I
about
have a lot of energy. I have a
clearly.
lot of energy and
Clearly, you're
I
doing
admit
fine
that.
on energy. But we'll have to talk offline about Northern Lights because that's actually on my bucket list. But for folks who don't have the budget, or folks who are saying, "Hey, we'd love to, but we don't have the means," what are some like local things that you would suggest, or how do folks find the local adventures that they can still have some fun?
Absolutely, and I'm going to be covering that too in the show with a you know, in our backyard type segment. Where can you go locally? Well, obviously the Laguna Beach has, you know, amazing things to see, but many of our clubs have excursions, daytime excursions where you can take the bus, so you don't have to worry about driving, parking. You pay one fee, you get to see that. I understand that the Chicago Club, I believe, is taking a trip to San Diego in April.
Hmm.
There, all these clubs are, when they do have trips, they will show up in the Globe. And also, you can get them on the Laguna Woods website. But yeah, you don't have to spend a lot of money to go places, and there are economical tours. In the current episode, when I was speaking to the person from the UK, we were talking about work away programs. You can do volunteerism if you want to go on a big trip. So it can be as easy as driving the you know, the 10-minute drive to Laguna Beach or an hour and a half down to San Diego. There's so much in our backyard to see and do. So nobody has to take these big, huge trips. That's certainly a personal preference.
Right. So what are the summer trips you have coming up? What are some of the things that people can look forward to on the upcoming episodes? And where are you going personally? That'll be maybe on a couple months from now on the show.
Yep. Yes. So where I'm going to be going next is interestingly enough, I got invited to go to a meeting in New Orleans, and I have not been to New Orleans. So I'm tagging on an extra day there so I can go and see some of the sites and get some stuff on film. I'm going to take a family and friends trip, not solo, to some southern states. I'm going to Tennessee, Nashville, to Alabama, and over to Georgia. And then my big trip, that's the 2 big trips coming up next, is I'm going to Zurich and then on a Rhine River cruise in May, which is my birthday present to me from me. And then I'm
Happy
going on the
birthday.
Rocky Mountaineer Railroad from Calgary to Vancouver in July. And I don't know what's happening after that, but probably I'm looking at Japan and Morocco. And one thing people say, Debbie, is why are you so, why are you trying to cram all this in at one time? Again, I'm going back to life is short, and I want to do things while I'm physically able to do them and enjoy them. So I'm going to try to pack in as much as I can. But some residents that I'm going to be interviewing on upcoming episodes, one has been on a 3-month cruise. Another was in Indonesia for 3 months. Another person, that these are all people who live in our community, was just went down to watch whales calving in south of Cabo.
All right.
It was a 15-hour bus ride. And so I'm going to be talking to people that are in the RV club. We have some women who belong to the RV club. They're widows and they go with the RV club. So I'm going to be mixing it up with my travels of our residents, and trying to give everybody just a really good mix of travel and encouragement if they want to take the trip or just enjoy watching the show.
There you go. I'm not sure if you've ever seen your living room in the past 4 months, but it sounds like you're doing a lot of traveling. It's your next
Yeah,
adventure.
I have seen it. I just got it painted.
Well, there you go. Debbie, when and where can we see the program?
Yes. So Friday mornings at 10:30 a.m. It's taking my second slot of Let's Talk Tech. So Let's Talk Tech is still on Tuesdays at 2 p.m. Senior Travel Adventures 10:30 a.m. on Fridays, always on YouTube. And I also have all my own social media channels now, where these episodes will be shortened into the segments. So when you
Okay.
go to my YouTube channel, you can just watch individual segments and not the whole show if that's your time frame. But I've certainly enjoyed doing this so far and having a blast and building my social media brand, which I never even knew. I was never really into that other than Facebook. So now I'm like this content creator, which is
You're
my
your own
next
brand
chapter
now,
of my
Debbie.
life.
You are the thing. You're the it girl for Village Television. All right, folks, make sure you watch her Fridays 10:30 a.m. in the morning on Senior Travel Adventures with Debbie Dotson. Debbie, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me, and I hope everybody tunes in and enjoys the show.
Oh, they will. We will. Thanks a lot, Debbie. You're watching This Day.
Thanks.